Wow. Really happy that we crushed that deal. Is my job on the line?
Then the candidate ghosted on us.
How do I get clients to work with? Not what we discussed, and I thought we were on the same page. So Hello, happy Monday, and welcome back to another week in the life, what I do every single day as a recruiter at my recruiting agency. Purpose of this video is not to exaggerate, just taking you behind the scenes of what I do every single day, what I've done almost for a past decade to help make multiple seven figures in recruiting on my own desk. Really appreciate your time. If you're excited as I am to finish off November, December 2022 off on a good note, please make sure to like, subscribe, click that bell. It would really mean a lot. Let's get started. Wow, crazy situations. If you haven't seen last week's video, make sure you watch it before you continue. Just as a recap, we had a candidate that was supposed to show up on a Friday. He did not show up. He completely ghosted. My team and I tried to call, text, email, ping him anything all day Friday, nothing. We pinged him once, I think, on Sunday, nothing. We also pinged him this morning, nothing. And then we're like, wow, like what could have happened? And I honestly hope that he's okay, or he at least gets back to the client. My team member heard finally back from our client. She said that the candidate got back to her and apologized and said that he chose to withdraw for two reasons. The first is remote. He really wants remote. We told him that this was remote possible, but they would prefer hybrid. When we first spoke to him and we conveyed that, he said, hey, push comes to shove, if they're willing and they're open to consider me for a hybrid 2 days in a week, that is totally fine. And that sentiment has stuck throughout the entire interview process, and us thinking it's not to be an issue. The only time where I thought it'd be a little issue is when I spoke with him early last week, and he's like, you know what, I really prefer remote. I'm like, hey, that's totally cool. We can talk about it openly with the team, after your final round, because you can kind of focus on that first, and then we can kind of talk about that after we see how everything went. And then so it was super surprising that he told the client that he's withdrawing because he did not want to be in the office at all, and he never communicated with us. That's incorrect. The second is that he told the client that, we told him they wouldn't be able to come closer or above his ideal range of 95 or maybe a little bit higher, around 100, 105. That also is incorrect because when we first spoke with him, he told us, hey, I'm looking for at least 95. This client being in New York, and now with the new kind of legal changes, their companies have to show a range that they're hiring for. And I think the range was from 100 to 130, 140. He gave the client the impression that we told him that the client can't go anywhere close to that range, let alone anything higher than 95, which is untrue. We did tell him hey, what would you ideally be looking for? He said 100, 110. We're like, hey, that should be within the range. That should be no problem whatsoever. And again, if you do well on this final round, this is something that we can communicate and figure out together. And so we made it really clear, and what we do in the process with the candidates at every stage is we just sync up with them and just to see how everything's going. We're really in their corner going to bat for them, and we just want to be able to help in any way possible. So I think the only silver lining here is that he was able to get back to my client. That's great. I mean, ghosting us is one thing, but ghosting client, please don't do that. So at least he was able to do that. But why would you ghost us? I mean, you should know by now, you shouldn't ghost anyone. Hiring manager shouldn't ghost, founder shouldn't ghost, candidate shouldn't ghost, recruiter shouldn't ghost. It honestly is just a bad look. And if you change your mind, that's totally fine. People change their minds. People get cold feet. Something changes last minute. Just give us the heads up. Don't ghost. We're not in elementary school. Just communicate with me. Literally text us, email us. It takes a 10-second call, and then we'll be like, fine, that's cool. We'll let the client know you withdraw, and then we can focus on other candidates. You ghosting not only hurts your relationship with us as recruiters who can help find other roles for you, potentially also hurt your chances with this client company as well. For them not to hear from you all Friday and only on Monday, that's just not a good look. And if you have a good relationship with us, we do the damage control for you, and we, de-escalate the situation as much as possible so it doesn't get to a point where, people get angry and say things that they won't mean, or I don't know, clients pull out, we pull out. It's just a whole messy situation. So I'm just honestly astonished that our candidate ghosted, because everything was going super well. He was really excited. We were aligned moving in with a great game plan, and somehow he didn't show up the manner in which he conducted himself, not ideal. And then the reasons for doing so to my client is, it just confuses me because like this is not what we discussed and I thought we were on the same page. So again, recruiting, anything can happen. The cool thing about this is I want to be as transparent as possible. It's not always deals every single time. And even though I've seen and been in this situation before, it just never gets easier. Like I'm still emotionally reacting to it. I'm surprised, I'm speechless. And I know that it happens, it's gonna continue to happen. I don't like it, but we will of course do whatever we can to prevent and minimize these situations from happening. So honestly, like I tried reaching out to my candidate, like, hey, let's just talk about it so we can end things off positively and professionally. Hasn't heard back. So I'm not going to respond to him anymore, reach out to him anymore. We got a lot of exciting candidates and positions to work on, but just not the best way to start the week. Like we were really kind of looking at this as a possible favorable outcome. Final on Friday should have been a formality, a one and done. And now it seems like my client might just fill this on their own. I think they have one other candidate late in stages that they're probably just gonna move forward with. So not ideal, but gotta be positive. Turn that frown upside down and keep going, you know? Can't be too emotional about things. Gotta see things for how they play out. Reflect, can we have done things better? And then learn from it and then just move on. That's all we can do. But either way, I just had a really great day today. Talked really great candidates, 2 interviews, talked to amazing people. My team member on my team picked up 2 amazing clients looking for really great brand and growth marketing like head ofs. So it's definitely something that she's gonna focus on this week. I'm gonna definitely focus on this week as well. Got account executive, software engineering, and product, you know, my niche that I like to specialize in. Really gonna dig deep. Other than that, it's gonna be a short week, gonna be traveling into this week, and then slowly have to get ready for the holidays coming around, and then maybe eventually my future travels in December, which I'm excited about, but I will do whatever I can to end this week off strong. Happy Tuesday morning. Have still not heard back from the candidate that is just apparently not responding back to her, is ghosting us, but all is good. Feeling really, really good today. Had a really good morning sync with our team members. Picked up 2 new head of growth positions with 2 new clients, and we unfortunately sent a couple candidates which we thought were really, really good, but the clients didn't want to speak to anyone, shockingly, for both, which doesn't really happen that often because we try our best to send them candidates that they want. But what happens in this situation is if you work with a client and they don't like your candidates, a couple things that you can do. Number one, you really, really, really need to ask for feedback, not just to kind of give the candidate feedback so they don't get stuck in limbo, but feedback to help you and your team get a better understanding, better alignment with exactly what the hiring manager and the company needs. I think at this point, communication is everything. The more you know what they're looking for, the better you can then recalibrate your search and go out and get it. I think if you don't have this discussion, then you go out and do another search based on your initial kind of notes. You're just going to come across the same type of candidate, and it's going to waste the candidate's time, it's going to waste your time, it's going to waste the company's time. And if you think that you can get different results from doing the same thing, it's just not the best use of anyone's time. So what I had to do is really just make sure we had feedback. If you don't get feedback via email, try to have a quick phone call with them, try to get on a Zoom call with them and just kind of chat. It makes no sense to start another search without you knowing, has something changed? Was there a misunderstanding? What out of everything that they're looking for, what are the must-haves? What are the things that they just cannot compromise on? And be crystal clear. And so then you can then go back to the drawing board with now a fresher perspective, a better idea, and go at it. So that's the plan when you work with clients who reject your candidates. It's not ideal, but it happens. It's part of the game, but it's what you do at that point that it makes all the difference of whether or not you can actually close the position and move forward and continue to be a valuing partner. Aside from that, we have got a podcast today talking about 5 candidates today, which is a little bit slow. And to me, I'm focused a lot on product engineering and marketing sourcing. Just going to be spending the whole day here, really just trying to create and drive as much momentum for the rest of the week and also next week. But still, good day, feeling good, looking forward to a good weekend. Let's see what we can do. I was thinking about the whole situation with my candidate and just not showing up and kind of ghosting us. And I think the real reason why it's surprising is that it's not because that it happens, because ghosting happens, people don't show up, people get cold feet, there are reasons, I get that. I think what's surprising is that we try best as early as possible to develop really, really strong relationships with our candidates so that stuff like this doesn't happen, or if it does happen, they at least give us a heads up. I think it's like that kind of courtesy that I would hopefully expect, because we would not do what he did to us with any other people. And so we were honestly just flabbergasted and just speechless from that. So how would you be able to create a really strong relationship with candidates? I think there's a couple of things that you can do. I think number one, you always just want to be honest off the bat. You never want to exaggerate, significantly lie about something about your client that's just untrue. You want to make sure that if you reach out to your candidate, you qualify them, you think they're good, you pitch them again, but pitch them on obviously accurate info, accurate data, so that if they say, yes, I'm interested, and you submit them, that they have a pretty clear understanding of what to expect. The second thing I would recommend is just have regular check-ins. I think when you're interviewing through an interview process, some of them can be quite long. It can be very scary, very emotional. It can also feel very lonely if you're the only person going through that experience. And I'm sure if you've applied for new jobs in the past, it could also just be very stressful, because it's a monumental decision to kind of decide if you're going to get a new job, and if you are, what company. And so it's really important to kind of have like a friend with you every step of the way. And I would say the third thing that you can do is just really manage expectations. If they're looking for a salary that's just like ridiculously high, out of the band of your client, or they say a couple things and you're like, wow, my client's actually not a good fit, or like they have a lot of like other processes going on, you want to really be clear what they can expect and how important it is to have regular communication with us, because at the end of the day, we're honest, we're their confidant, we're their friends, and we really just want the best for them. And whether or not it's with our client, that would be ideal. If it's with some other company, that's fine. But the fact that we're honest, we manage expectations, we're close to reality as much as possible, should help them feel comfortable with us off the bat. And the more you do that, the more often check-ins that you have, you can really build on that rapport, build on that trust, so that when you do get further in process with the candidates, that they can be able to be comfortable to openly disclose with you, like what's going on with the other companies, how do they really feel, are there any concerns, are there any like real kind of red flags, or about salary, the culture, benefits, anything, the remote, in office, that if they decide to ultimately withdraw, not move forward, they at least give you a heads up. So these are things that we like to do routinely with every single candidate, so that if we do get to the late stages, if for any reason, if there are any surprises, we can have an honest discourse about it, instead of just one party being completely off the grid. And so I hope this helps about what you can do to kind of manage strong relationships with candidates, and then hopefully to cultivate, develop that throughout the process. Hello, happy Wednesday. So as we're kind of nearing off the end of this year, it's no surprise that the market is absolutely insane. It's an extremely stressful, difficult time. And of course, us as recruiters, whether you're in-house or on the agency side, or you're working for yourself, you're like, man, what's in store for me? Is my job on the line? Are people going to still hire? Or is there still going to be a need for recruiters? I think the good news is that there will always be companies that will continue to get funded. There will always be companies that are looking to grow. There will always be companies that are scaling, even in the worst economic climate. So especially for the people who are on the agency side, if you have a job, if you are a freelancer, you have an agency, have a small team, here's something that you can do to really kind of help. I would say number one is try your best to be flexible as much as possible. When you are a freelancer, you're an independent recruiter, you are a one-man, one-woman show, you have a small team, getting clients is the lifeblood to just our existence. And I think in this time right now, where a lot of companies are just a lot more cognizant and they're trying to tighten their belt in terms of budget and finances, like do whatever you can to be as flexible as possible. Whatever your flat fee, monthly fee, upfront fee, or percentages, try to decrease that as much as possible to allow you a better chance of bringing in clients, just to kind of help you guys get through the next like 3, 4, or 5 months, right? Having a little bit of work that pays you a little bit less is better than no work that pays you nothing, right? The second thing is just always reevaluate, like, are you giving the right value? So in this day and age, if you're freelancing agency, you own your own business, like, are you offering anything truly unique? I think if you're specialized, you have a really good track record, you're presenting really great candidates, I think that alone is enough value, but that's what every other staffing agency is doing. So are you guys doing anything different? Is there anything special about your candidates? Are you using any specific tools or technology that makes you guys a little bit different? And this is the time to really do whatever you can to differentiate yourself from others. If you're just a regular staffing firm that places any job that you can get, it's not really that different, and you're not really giving that much more value added than perhaps other partners or recruiters that clients and companies are already working with. So my biggest suggestion there is do whatever you can to just reevaluate yourself, your business. How can you tweak things? Problem solve, be more creative, change things up a little bit, and then see if like that can help. Last but not least, just like test. Whether it's like, how can I always do better? So if you have clients, how can I maintain the relationship with my clients better? How can I get new clients better? How can I get more candidates? How would I get a higher response on both sides? Constantly audit and test your outreach, your language, your narrative, how big, how small, how short, how creative, using memes, emojis, like always test constantly. But when you do test something, make a decision of whether or not it works or doesn't work, at least after you get enough data points. It's very easy to test things and then literally 24 hours later, like, you know what, it's not a good fit, it's not working. You got to give yourself more leeway, more time, maybe a week, maybe a couple weeks, maybe a month to see and truly determine if things are going to work out or not. Last suggestion, honestly, is try to keep things as lean as possible. If you run a business, you're working for yourself, don't spend too much. Be really, really cognizant on your capital management, and just be as lean as possible. Do more with less. So thankfully, running a recruiting desk doesn't require too many tools every single month. It doesn't really require for you to spend so much just to even operate. And so focus on things that you know are tried and tested that are going to work, and then focus on that, and then just focus on backing up with more work, more effort, and perhaps being more resourceful in a time where it's really, really important to do that. So I hope putting all those things together, it can help you a little bit. Who knows what's going to happen in the future? I definitely do know that, yes, we are in a recession now. It could get a lot worse, especially in tech. Layoffs are happening. More layoffs will probably happen Q1, Q2 next year. So it's really, really up to us to be able to be smart, manage our capital and resources better, try to be creative, and just always move forward and take calculated risks. I think it's very easy to make money in up market, and it really comes down to down markets where it's gonna really force you, be like, are you in this for the long haul, or were you just in it for the quick bang for the buck? Are you ready to fight? Are you ready to give blood, to take whatever you can from the market, to innovate, to adapt, to mold yourself, to be stronger as a business owner and operator and recruiter, to be able to push through in these difficult times and wait for things to kind of stabilize? Or are you just gonna buckle underneath the first couple waves of difficulty? You're gonna quit, give up, and move on to the next. When things are difficult, it's stressful, there will be pain, acknowledge that and embrace it, but also it's exciting. It's gonna force you to really ask yourself, am I serious in this? Am I serious in this for the long term? And let's see what we can do so that not only do we come out stronger and better, but we're just different. And so if you can do that, if we can try and test new things, embrace creativity, embrace problem solving, always find different ways to grow, to innovate, to provide more value, take calculated risks. We're all in this together, so let's just stay positive, cautiously optimistic, and just keep doing whatever we can. Happy Thursday morning, having a great week so far, well rested, and looking to do whatever we can to just finish the week off strong. My head of software engineering candidate started yesterday, sending out an invoice. Really, really happy that we crushed that deal. That's amazing. Highlight of this month so far. We sent out a second batch of candidates to two new clients looking for, ironically, head of growth. The first batch, they didn't like anyone because client number one wanted a holistic criteria, and they're like, you know what, like the candidates weren't close enough. And the second one, basically for similar reasons, didn't want to talk to anyone because they weren't coming out of more B2C and startup experience. This time around, we're able to really kind of take their feedback, recalibrate their search, and I'm really, I thought like the first group of candidates are great. The second group I think are definitely way closer to what they're looking for. So I'd be surprised if they didn't like any of the candidates at this point. But we got a late email last night from one of the clients saying, hey, candidate A, candidate B might be interesting, gonna take a deeper look and get back. Now, this is great news, but another thing that's also really interesting that I found out is that this position has been opened since 2020. They've been hiring on and off for 2 years. I'm shocked with how many people that they've talked to. As we started sourcing, reaching out to people, we got a huge number of people saying, hey, I've already talked to your client, it didn't go well. And so we're like, wow, this is gonna be a lot harder than normal. This has happened before in the past where you work with clients and they've just been struggling with one or two positions. They reached out to a lot of people, and in this scenario we just have to be creative and innovative. And if we go after like the obvious candidates, most likely this client would have already reached out. So it really comes down to us utilizing our leverage and our expertise, being really creative in terms of where we look, the Boolean searches, the different combination of keywords and titles and companies and backgrounds to be able to find people that are not so obvious that still might be great for them. So it's going to be a little bit more of a challenge. The second client, I think she's more clear cut in what she's looking for, but she gets back to us like really, like it takes her just a long time. And so that's not a bad thing. I know founders are busy, but like it definitely helps us if we hear back from them soon in terms of feedback. And so we can kind of rinse and repeat, build a pipeline, send them a couple of new people, and then get people in the process. So that's been like one of the clear goals this week, is to get the search for these positions up and running, and then to get hopefully people closed for these positions. But other than that, talking to a new client later. We have 6 candidate calls today. Going to the airport. It's an early week to end the week off, which I'm really excited about, but can't talk too much or celebrate too much about that until we finish this day off strong. So let's see whatever we can do. As important as it is to be honest with your feedback to candidates and then to really be with them every step of the way, it's also important to just give feedback from our end back to the clients. I think it's very easy on the agency side, or if you're working only for yourself, you have a small team, where you give a lot of the power to the clients, because ultimately that's how you get paid, right? And in the beginning when you're starting out, it's all about how do I get clients to work with. And so as you kind of do this long enough, you realize clients come in all different types of flavors and experiences. Some might be great, some might be difficult, but whatever type of client you're working with, I think what really helps is to us be able to leverage our expertise, our knowledge of our industry, our market, and then to be able to communicate that clearly to the client, which is a whole nother reason why it's super important to be specialized instead of just doing every single position out there, because then how are you going to be knowledgeable about your specific market, specifically insights, data, trends, and things like that. And so when it comes to working with a client who is very picky, I think it's not bad to be picky at all. I think if you're a founder, you should totally be picky on who you're hiring. But if we're learning things like, hey, like, wow, you've been trying to fill this role for 2 years now, there's got to be a reason why. Like, what can we do? So, when we start embarking on a relationship with any new client, we of course do our best. We go off and have a very in-depth recruiting call, and we go off from that information, from that data, to go out and find people. Well, when we do send people to the clients and we get our initial round of feedback, if our targeting for any reason is off, we will recalibrate it. But after that, it's also very important for us to give feedback. When do you do that? So if you send a first batch to a client and they rejected everyone, and then they're like, hey, here's feedback, you get a whole nother batch of feedback, you recalibrate your search, you send a couple more people, they keep rejecting people. This kind of goes on and on and on. You don't want to go through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different submissions and all rejections. At a certain point, you have to be like, hey, we have to maybe talk about what you're looking for and what we're seeing on the market. Perhaps like their salary's not high enough. Perhaps they're only wanting us to kind of go after the big techs or the fangs of the world. And it's really our job to defend ourselves, and again, to leverage our expertise and show them, hey, of course we're going after the Google people, the Amazon, the Netflix, but a lot of them frankly are not as excited about your company as you are, or maybe you can't afford them, or maybe like, hey, instead of these people, we're getting a lot more responses from tier B, tier C talent who in terms of skill pound for pound is as good as these big tech people, but they're just not coming out of these sexy companies. You should be okay to be more open-minded and compromise to talk to these people. A lot of companies, a lot of founders are set in their ways and like, we only want to hire people coming out of Ivies. We only want to hire people out of big tech. There's a reason why they do that. Maybe because they themselves went to these schools and these companies and they're biased. But also, the reason why a lot of these companies and schools are prestigious is they go through a very rigorous, qualification, recruiting, hiring process, right? So you'd assume that people who are working there, who have demonstrated success there, are pretty good at their job. But you have to understand, every small startup, they think they're the Googles. They think they're the next Netflix and Facebook. But the talent and the market might not think so. So even though they're working with us, that makes them as exciting as can be. At the end of the day, it just comes down to the raw, like, what are your benefits? What are your salaries? Do I like your founder? Do I like your mission? And if there's some sort of mismatch, it is our job to communicate that with the clients, even though they may not want to hear it. Because my job is to achieve the same goal that they want. They want to hire someone. And if it's taken them 2 years, something's got to give, something's got to change. If not, I'm not going to be able to deliver. They're going to find someone else to hopefully do the same thing. The same process goes over and over and over again. They're just not going to be happy. So I'm going to come in now and really assess how they respond, the feedback that we get, maybe after the 2 or 3 submissions. If I feel like, hey, we need to have a more honest communication and discussion with them, I have to just drop the facts with them saying, hey, I think with the way things are right now, if nothing's going to change, you're going to have a really tough time filling this role. If not, you can just continue not changing anything and wait another 2 or 3 more years until you fill this role, which I know that they don't want to do because it's very, very important. So it's my job is to set myself up for success, but also to communicate this to the company. Like, hey, if you want to hire someone and they do fast, you have to give a little bit here. Maybe come up on the salary. Maybe like let us target people who are a little bit more junior. Maybe be more open-minded with people who are coming out of like tier B, tier C companies. Because if we don't do that and they're stuck in their ways, every candidate, no matter how well or how aligned we think they're going to be, the client's never going to see or feel that. So at a certain point, we have to push back and fight for the candidates, but also fight for, having a conversation with, hey, client, meet us in the middle so all of us can win together and get the job done, because what you want is not what we can get from the market and what we may never get if they're extremely picky, right? So that's probably going to happen soon, I think, depending on what happens here. I think if they're wanting to move forward with a candidate or two, I think that's great. That's music to my ears. But if this continues where like they're super, super, super picky, then we have to have that chat. And so I think that's why, people or companies work with recruiters like us, not because we're good at our jobs, but we know markets really well. We know the insights, we know the data, we know the trends, and we know what the market's dictating, right? It's kind of like buying or selling a home. If you're trying to sell your home for, $1 million, but people will only pay $400,000. There's a huge mismatch for that. And so our job is to manage expectations on both ends, because what I want to do is find 2 groups of people to find each other in a perfect fit, create complete harmony, and that's where everyone gets happy and that's where everyone wins. So that is my plan of attack. Let's see what happens. But so far, good day, and we'll keep you updated for how this day and week progresses.
Good morning. As you can see, things are a little bit different. Just landed in Atlanta, Georgia last night for a really cool reason. We'll share it with you in just a bit. But woke up early, had a great workout, feeling great. It's Friday, still got a lot of things to do, talking to a lot of great candidates, submitting a lot of even better candidates, talking to one other client, and then gonna enjoy the rest of the day, the rest of the weekend. So talk to you in a bit. This is so crazy. I traveled down south to Georgia and it's just this cold. I need some sun. Where's the sun? So the real reason why I came down to Atlanta is we're actually meeting a brand new team member on our team. It's her birthday and she just absolutely crushed it from day one. Within her first month, she brought on 4 different clients. She did 1 placement. She was gonna do a second one, but then the candidate ghosted on us. So she would have been 4 clients in, 2 deals, coming into the second month, which is amazing, which is much faster than what even I was able to accomplish. So it just made sense before the holidays to come down, meet her, celebrate, and plan for next year. And if you're watching this, there's a small chance we might open up another spot on our team. So if you're excited and that may resonate with you, just make sure you keep watching, because if that's going to happen, I might make an announcement soon. But it's a beautiful, cold day. Got to do a little bit of work before I meet up with her for lunch, and it's going to be an awesome day, an awesome weekend.